Good morning, welcome everybody. All right. Good morning, happy Sunday. My name is Dominic. For those who don't know me, I'm going to be guiding you through your 90-minute yin flow today. As most of us know, we are celebrating Mother's Day today. So I thought I would open up class just sharing a little bit of my thoughts about today and about my mom and about the moms of the world, right? So first off, I want to say happy Mother's Day to everyone out there, both current moms, future moms, dog moms, plant moms. Moms come in a bunch of different flavors, right? I think often we associate um, the title of mother, and we associate obviously that with children. But I think there's a greater way to look at what it means to be a mom, right? That nurturing, that caring, that loving, that appreciation, all of those traits that uh, you know a lot that are very female dominant, and some of us guys have it too. But those traits, they encompass what it means to be a mom. Now, of course, there's the other aspect of being able to give life and things of that nature, which is beautiful in its own right, right? So, but yeah, I mean, I think for me, this day is super special. I was raised by a single mom, so I'm a little partial to this day because it gives me an opportunity to celebrate her and what she did for me. So I know what I've seen, those sacrifices. I've seen what she's put in, and in spite of it all, she has found a way to continue giving love. And so that act of just being selfless and always looking to give for your child. I see it in my wife. She does it with our kids, and she is someone who always puts them first and always thinks about their needs in such a strong way, well above her own. And that ability to give so graciously, from an open heart, I think is the backbone of a lot of what it means to be a mother. And I think that today is just a small way of saying thank you. I hope that we do more to do that on non-specific holidays, because I think the job is never really done. But yeah, I that's my rant, if you will, and my thoughts. Obviously, I'm not a mom, so I can't speak from a first person's perspective. But I've been blessed to know a lot of wonderful mothers that have given me a really good basis for knowing what love is, how to give it, how to show it, how to appreciate it, and really how to be it. So today we're gonna honor that. My way of giving back is uh, a little bit of self care, a little bit of taking care of your own body, taking care of your own mind. That's the thing about motherhood. And ladies, you know this. You will give and you will give and you will give and you will burn out and you will be exhausted and you will be tired because you can't give from an empty cup. So let's work on filling it up. Let's take this next 90 minutes to be about you. Come to a comfortable place on your mat. Before we begin, just want to put out some of the items we'll be using today. So a couple blocks or something that looks like a block or looks like that would work. A blanket would be nice if you have one, or two if you don't have that. Lastly, a bolster. So something like this. If you don't have a bolster, a couple blankets can actually do the same thing that a bolster does. So these are kind of going to be the props that we're going to play with today and add. They're going to help us find a little bit more openness, find a little bit of expansion, and a little bit of comfort, right? So yeah, we've got 90 minutes of some gentle flow, We'll do the yin poses. I sprinkle in a little bit of flow, not a lot, nothing crazy. And then we'll get you on to your day, and hopefully you can allow folks to take care of you today. For the ladies in the room, for the moms out there. All right, so we're going to get started on our belly. So come to lie down. And as you'll notice, my mat's a little different. I made this whimsical purchase of this round circular mat from Manduka. True Hot Yoga, the studio that you know and love, also where I reside. We have a code. It's True Hot. If you use that code, the studio receives a little bit of proceeds. So during this time, anything that you can contribute would be great. If you got to buy stuff for your home practice, why don't you kill two birds with one stone and support the studio you love. So that's what's up with this funky mat. If you got questions, hit me up. I'll talk to you more about it and share my thoughts on that. So what are we going to start off with? We're going to start off belly down. And it's kind of a variation of a Sphinx pose, but the purpose is to get you in touch with your diaphragmatic breathing, right? So breathing, your belly breathing. So the way we're going to do that is come onto our elbows, come onto your toes so that your heels are lifted, and then open the legs wide enough so you can drop the heels in and turn the toes out. Yep, might feel a little funky to you depending on how your feet are normally positioned. Now from here, you're simply going to cross at the arms and then allow the chin to tuck down. And this is pretty much the basic posture. You'll notice that you'll find a little bit of stretch in your lumbar spine, which is totally fine. I want to make sure that your belly is connected with the ground. That's really probably the critical piece of this pose. And as you allow the head to just kind of hang heavy here, you can take a block if you prefer. You can even bring your block here and let your head rest on your block. But not really required. You can, but not required. I like to just sit here with a soft gaze at the ground. A little cleansing breath. Let's do another one of those. Take an inhale. Open mouth, exhale. Take another inhale. Third and final one. Fill up, inhale. Nice. Close the mouth. Keep the gaze soft. Breathe through the nose. And I want you to focus on your belly button, your abdomen area. And as you inhale, I want you to press that into the mat. And as you do, press until you can't anymore, and then feel the breath move outwardly toward your ribs. Keep filling up until it comes into your chest, and then release out the nose. Maybe you started to lightly constrict the throat, creating a bit of ujjayi. Now when the belly softens, can you soften the shoulders too? And let everything sink a little deeper into your mat. Now that constriction that you hear as I exhale typically is made, the easiest way to think about it is imagine that you're fogging up a mirror, so like that sound, but with the mouth closed and done out through the nose, right? So if you want to play with that, you can do that as you continue watching your breath patterns. So here in Yin class, we like to focus a lot on really holding our poses for time. So we'll spend time in each one of the poses that we go through today. In addition to that, we like to do that. There's a quality of how we hold those poses, right? So it's not enough just to hold the pose, but we try to do it from a place of stillness. We try to minimize movement, minimize restlessness. it's a moving meditative practice. So there's a lot of awareness talk you'll hear from me. The brain, the mind will certainly do what it does and start to wander and maybe be distracting. So I want you to know that your breath is your anchor that you can come back to and use to reinvite that stillness, that equanimity, that peace that resides within you. That's how you get there. You tap into it. You tap into it through the breath. And if you have any intentions for class today, maybe it's to honor, someone. For me, I'm dedicating my practice today to my mom and to my wife and the mothers that I love and adore. So maybe there's someone special for you that you want to dedicate and honor your practice to. Or maybe you want to give that love to yourself because you need it. But whatever your intention is, let that become part of your thought process and lock it in. Honor that intention with 3 focused breaths. Breaths. Blah, 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 blah. It sounded like I said breaths. I said breaths. Jeez, man. It's too early. Wherever you are, start to take another breath. Start to release, start to release the shape. So let go of your forearms. Start to lower the belly onto the mat. Extend your arms out long. And then bring them down by your side. So I have my right ear on the mat. You can have right ear, left ear, whatever ear. But I just want the spine to be neutral for a moment. Because while you may have been breathing into the belly, you may have been noticing a bit of compression in the lumbar spine, a little bit of stretching there. So we're just going to let that neutralize real quick. All right, cool. Let's go to Sphinx pose next. And it is exactly how it sounds. Bring the hands in. Come back onto the forearms. This time, fingertips are forward, shoulders are stacked neatly over your elbows. Now, it's called Sphinx pose because it is supposed to look like the Sphinx, right, in Egypt. So there's that. Notice that my toes are still the way they were. I want to change that up a bit. Bring them in and bring the heels and the toes together to touch. Zip up your tail, one nice firm line. And then naturally lay them down to allow them to be where they are. From here, the eye gaze, or your dristi, as we call it, is going to look forward, or it's going to gaze down towards your mat. Either one is fine. Now, if you slightly roll your shoulders back, it presses your heart forward and almost opens your chest a bit wide. If you don't want, or you would prefer less feels in your back, take your block, put your forehead here, and that will help release a bit of the tension and compression along the thoracic and lumbar spine. So that's the upper and lower parts of your back. And once we come to our seat in asana, as it's known, that's literally what asana means, is to sit. So once you have taken your seat, start to focus in on your breath right away. And when the distractions of the world try to creep into your moment,
I want you to acknowledge those distractions. We don't run from our problems. We face them with courage, and then we release them without judgment. Especially when it comes to our thoughts. Thoughts are only as powerful as you allow them to be. So the energy that you choose to put into them is the energy that you'll typically get back out of them. And what happens if you put nothing into them? Well, you get nothing back. And sometimes that's exactly what we need, especially if you've got some thoughts that send you into a spiraling place, into a negative place. You don't need those in your life. And there is a difference between negative and realistic. Take another breath.
If your head was on the block, go ahead and take the head off the block. Move the block out of the way. Slowly start to come back down onto your belly. This time, take the arms out like airplane wings. So make the letter T. Rest your right ear on the mat. We're going to move into a supine shoulder stretch, which simply means belly down shoulder stretch. Most of you have done this with me at some point or with one of the teachers in our lovely group, so it should feel slightly familiar. We're going to start by stretching the right arm, so that means slide your left fingertips in. That left elbow goes up towards the ceiling. Keep your right arm straight as you start to roll onto your right side. So stop here for just a moment and let that left hip stack nice and firmly, and just soften your hips so that the hip joints press into the mat. Now the right hand stays extended if that feels comfortable for you, or should I say comfortable for your shoulder. Your head, like mine, can be elevated, can rest on your mat or on a block if you want. Now you can stay right here. If this feels lovely to you, do that. Or you can take top leg, step it over, bring it behind you. I also prefer pulling my knees in and then stepping my legs back. This is my favorite version. Then I take my left hand and I bring it behind my back. So find what works for you. So part of our yoga practice is it's an exploration every time you show up on your mat. Every day it's going to be different. But you start out almost like an explorer on uncharted territory. You have a general sense of where you're going, but you don't know what's waiting for you because your body's never going to show up the same way every day. Maybe most days the terrain will seem familiar. You'll know, oh, I have a slight twinge in my shoulders, or oh, my left hip feels a little wonky. And then you start to move, and as you start to move, you start to learn more. You start to tap into that sensory knowledge. And I mean, I think that's a skill that a lot of the moms out there are really good at doing with their children, right? Like, you know your kids better than they know themselves. You know what their cough sounds like. You know what their cries sound like. You know the difference between pain and just discomfort, all from the tone of a voice. So I asked yourself, if you can see so much in another person, imagine if you took that focus and brought it into you. But we don't think about ourselves the way we do the people we love. We often forget that we deserve it too, and that we need it. And there's nothing wrong with needing that. Our world is slightly getting away from the idea that we need each other, but the reality is we definitely need each other, more so now than ever. If you step the leg behind you, I want you to bring it back so that you kind of level things out. Left leg is stacked on top of right hip. We're going to release that right shoulder. Slide your left fingertips out. Roll onto your belly. Take your neutral position, which means take your natural pause so that the spine can rework and release some of the bending and some of the twisting. And then we're going to take this again on the opposite side. Right fingertips are going to come into play. You're going to roll onto your left arm, I should say. Now the right hip is stacked. Again, knowing which side or knowing where you want to go on this side. You stay here with the hip nice and balanced for just a moment. Then step that right foot behind. Rest the head down if that feels good. Keep a soft breath. If you step that leg behind, let's bring it back. Let's stack it back on top. Extend your right arm. Roll your belly down, 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 down. Onto your belly we come. Hands are going to come in line with the chest. Press into the mat. Slowly start to push up. There you go. And we're going to come into a kneeling position. So I'm going to add a little bit of mobility stretches. So what does that mean? Mobility is the opposite of flexibility. Flexibility is obviously being able to get into bendy shapes. Mobility is having strength and flexibility. It's a combination of both. Being able to move through ranges of motion without actively instead of passively. So one of the ways that you improve mobility is by improving your joint health. So we're going to just take some arm circles. We stretched out the arms a bit. Now we're going to add a little bit of work to strengthen them and to strengthen the joints a bit. So hand on belly. It's a good place to start. Why? so that you know your core is engaged. Belly button comes in the spine. So you're drawing your waist back, activating your core. Keep that activation. Now reach your right hand out in front of you like you're shaking your imaginary friend's hand. Now notice there's a difference between this and reaching. I want you to reach. So fingertips go out. Now keep that length and bring the hand up towards the ceiling. Now once you reach this point, I want you to extend out. Keep going back behind you. Keep your core engaged. Keep going. Now, as you notice, you're going to reach a point where you can't go no more. Now, I'm moving for purposes of the showing you. Obviously, you stay where you are in that kneeling position. You don't have to rotate in circles. Turn your thumb forward. Yep. And you'll find some more range of motion. Don't let your arm flail out. Keep it in. Keep your core in. Keep reaching back behind you. And then come down. You might catch a couple snap, crackle, pops. That's okay. And now we start to do the same thing to come out. Reach behind you. Keep reaching, keep reaching, keep reaching. Once you reach the top, turn the thumb towards the back of your mat. And then keep reaching, keep reaching, keep reaching. There you go. Now, I would argue that the slower you do that, the better. Don't try to rush through it. I want you to feel your way through it. Also, if you notice that some parts are a little sticky, that's okay too. We're going to do one more time on the right arm, and then we'll do 2 times on the left. So, hands forward, hand up, keep going, turn the thumb forward, keep reaching. There we go. And then slowly bring it back out. There. All right. Nice. And we'll do the left side. Take it back into the left side position. As I dilly-dally with my microphone, that happens in this age of online teaching and all this weirdness. Okay, right hand on belly, left hand reaches forward, fingertips extending out, and we're going up with it. Turn the thumb. Be mindful about the differences between the left and right. One of these sides are probably tighter than the other, or feels a little more uncomfortable. Just know that, okay, that's where my body's at today. That's what I got to work with. How can I maximize that? How can I make it work for me? Turn the thumb forward, reach back on this final rotation. And then come all the way back to center. Beautiful work. All right. Next pose for us will take us into hero pose, Virasana pose. So that block I told you about, now's a good time to find it. At least I need it. So what does hero pose typically look like? So you're going to find roughly hips distance. So 2 fists go between the knees just so you measure things out a little bit. And I want you to take your toes and turn them outward. So give you this angle so it's easier to see what's going on. Toes turn out. Now, the goal would be to let your hips simply rest in between your heels like that. Now, some people can do that. Now, I would argue I only want you doing it this way if there's no pain in the knees. If that's painful to your knees, bring the knees together. See how that feels. If that's still painful to your knees, like it is for me, put your block underneath your sit bones. This is the most comfortable way for me to do hero. Now, the other thing that you can do if you've got pretty meaty thighs, which I do, and calves and stuff, got a lot going on, you can take the flesh and kind of roll it to the side. And that'll give you just enough space to be able to maximize this pose. So that's what it should look like. A variation of that for my super bendy flexi folks. Hey, you don't need a block? Great. No worries. We're here for a few minutes anyway, so do what you can with what you have. Find your Goldilocks spot, your comfy spot that you're going to be able to sit in without your mind going crazy, worried about when you're going to get out of the pose. All right, once we're in hero pose, we're going to just work on stretching out the neck a little bit. So find a little bit of length. So you're kind of sitting up tall. We're going to starburst our chest. We're going to open up our heart. How we're going to do that? We're going to roll our shoulders back and press our sternum forward. Hey, feel real bright in your chest, right? There's such a expansive, open quality that comes with that instruction. Cool. Now with everything feeling really nice and stacked, I want you to start to tuck your chin into your chest. Look down at your belly button. Rotate the chin over to the left. Keep it low. Keep it low. Cool. As you reach your left shoulder, continue up. Big circle. Big, big circle. When you find your right shoulder, look down. And bring it back. That's one. You'll do two on each side. So just continue going with the left because that's where we started. If you started on your right, well, good job. And continue with it. See if you can feel all the parts of the neck and the muscle as you move through this. Can you go slow enough that you can notice all of that? If you forget which direction you're going because it all feels so good, well, don't worry about it. Slowly come back to center. Lift your chin up. Reevaluate what your chest did. Mine started to collapse in a little bit. Come back to that openness by bursting out through your heart and pressing your heart a bit forward. Reach the hands out in front of you. Open your fingers really, really wide. Really, 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 really wide. Like wider than it's comfortable to be. And then just open and close your hands. Open and close your hands. Open and open and open and close. Open and open and open and close. Open, open and close. Keep going. Faster's better. If your fingers start to burn, that's good. Keep it moving. You can do it. Yeah, keep going. So this is a nice way to strengthen your fingers. You got grip strength issues, or maybe down dog isn't the easiest pose for you because you can't engage the fingers. Stuff like this is how you build up finger strength. And hold with them open, hold with them open, hold with them open, and close. Your forearms might be burning, and if they are, it's good because your fingers don't have muscles in them. They get their strength from your forearms. So part of improving finger strength means improving forearm strength. So your forearms might feel what we just did there, which is okay. Last 20, 30 seconds. Stay with it. Come back to your breath. Let the hands rest comfortably. Give them a break. slowly start to come out of the pose by lifting the hips up off the block or off the ground, depending on where you were when we were playing there. Ah, my goodness. Yep, stomp out the feet because it just feels great. Feels nice and great. Tuck the toes. Tuck them. And there you are. Oh, that might feel completely different. Set the hips back. A little toe stretch. Not going to stay here long. Maybe you pull the toes in. Why am I talking about toes and wrists? Because we never talk about toes and wrists. That's why. We do all kinds of stuff and we leave those out. But in yoga, they're part of the equation, right? Like I said earlier, we all need each other. Well, we all need each part of our body to make our practice work. So a little bit of love to the toes. Notice that my fingers are low on the ground because I don't want the craziest version of this. Like, I could come here. I could do all of this. I don't need all that right now. Just enough to stretch the feet out a little. That's nice. Okay, little counter posing. Beautiful. Move your block out of the way. Anahastasana, puppy pose is what we got next. How do we get there? Well, simple. Hips stay over knees. Feet can be tucked or untucked. You're just going to start to walk the hands forward. Walk the hands forward. Walk them. And as you walk them forward, your chest starts to come down. Now you should start to feel this underneath your armpits and all along the outer edge of your trapeze muscles, your trapezius. I'm sure there's a name for that muscle, but I don't know it right now, and that's okay. So your head may find its way to the mat before your heart does. This is heart melting pose, sometimes it's called. I just want you to find the variation. It's really you're gonna be able to hold for the next 3 or 4 minutes. So as the head comes down, you reach the hands out maybe a little further. Keep the hips as stacked over the knees as you can. Let gravity do the work. Once you take your seat, get to your breath. Just like when we were students in class and they told us to take a seat and get your workout. Taking a seat is the easy part. Everything else that is about to happen is the challenge. Whether that's with the breath or whether that's just with what comes up. Now, if the fingertips extended out become too intense for you, lower the elbows down and bring the palms together and let the thumbs touch the back of the neck. This can add a bit of stretch in a different way, especially along the intercostals, which is your rib cage. There's muscles in between those ribs. Those are your intercostal muscles. They can sometimes be hard to stretch. So this might help you get there. Target those areas. While you breathe here, if it feels good to you, allow a thought of joy to come into the mind. A time in which you found bliss and joy in a situation, a person, a place, a thing. If there's not anything readily that comes to mind, then let yourself find joy in the fact that you can practice, move, and breathe. And as that starts to arise, notice where you might feel that in your body. Maybe it comes along with where you're already stretching, or maybe it introduces a new sensation or feeling. And as you witness and notice that area of your body or where you feel that joy resonate inside of you, I want you to go to that place. I want you to put your attention and your breath on that place, and I want you to expand it out. Make it large
and notice what it does to the feeling and sensation. Now take your image or your mental picture and I want you to make it small. Shrink it in size. You should notice a remarkably different feeling. Joy is something that you always have with you. It's not something you have to wish or want. It's always present. Slowly to come out of the pose. Start to walk the hands in. Bring the hands up. That might feel good if you had the hands extended, even if you had them bent. That might have been a lot of work on the shoulders. Bring the knees together. Let the tops of the feet press into your mat. Draw the hands beside you. Put your forehead on the mat. Take a child's pose. I'm going to add a bit of compression here. And I don't have my hands extended because I'm giving my arms a break. Of course, as I always say, if you don't like what's happening right now and it doesn't feel good for you and you think something else might feel better, like your hands being extended, please do that. Take that opportunity to make those kinds of adjustments. Pyramid pose is what we're going to do next. We're going to start working through the legs a bit, opening things up there. So slowly start to lift the head up. As you come here to this hips to heel position, you're simply going to walk the hands out. Tuck the toes. Spread the fingers wide and push into the fingertips. Draw the hips up. Find your down dog. First one of these class, so if you want to pedal out your legs, feel free to do so. Pedal, pedal, pedal. And take an inhale, lift your right leg up. As you exhale, step your right foot outside of your right hand. You can move your hand out of the way and heel toe your right foot more towards the center of your mat. Straighten your right leg. You can keep your left foot where it's at or take a step in. Find your block. If you have a block, find your block, I should say. If you don't, that's fine. Just come onto your fingertips. But notice that my spine is long here because I'm trying to keep that length in my spine. I'm going to draw my right hip back, my left hip forward. My left foot can be straight or turned out at a 45. I'm really targeting the back part of my right leg as my area, my main target area, the place that I want to stretch. Trying to create a bit of lightness there. At the same time, if you keep the spine long, using your block, that will help to keep things neutral in the upper part of your body while stretching the lower part of your body. Now, of course, if you don't have a block or anything like that, you can be here on your fingertips. If you don't even have that, then just simply come forward. Now, the goal is to keep the right leg straight. So some of you might start to feel it bend. That's an indication to make some adjustments so that you can continue keeping it straight. Because if you keep it bent, you're going to lose some of the benefits of what
you're trying to do right now. And I don't want you to do work that doesn't give you progress. I like work with purpose, not work for the sake of work. $30. If you started to relax, maybe you bring a little bit of attention back into it. Attention is the name of the game here, awareness as we call it. It's really one of our hidden superpowers, your ability to pay attention to something and then make adjustments. It's pretty cool. All right, time to slowly come out of this. How are we going to do that? Now you can start to bend your right knee. That might give you a sense of relief. Don't set your block too far away. You're going to lower your back leg down. And you'll be here in this kneeling lunge position or kneeling shape. I want you to start to straighten your right legs. Yep, take a rounding of the spine here, so not as straight as we were in pyramid. Draw your tailbone down, your pubic bone up, flex your toes. So half splits, bowing dragon as it's called in Yin. It's kind of where we're going to start our dragon series. So we'll move through a few different poses that are going to work to really continue opening the back part of the legs. If you have any split preparations that feels good, that's where we're kind of working towards. So if you can do splits, front splits, then feel free to do front splits. But you don't have to do that. Again, you could have your hands on blocks here, like this, or just on your fingertips. And it's keeping that activation of the hip. Leveling out where you can. Slowly start to bring your foot down now. So right foot is going to come onto the mat, heel toe it out towards the edge of your mat or onto the floor. You might need to reposition your left knee coming into a more open dragon shape. Again, hands can be here or here. Or you can go all the way down. Just go to the place you're going to be able to hold. Sometimes all we worry about is depth. But we're not that one-dimensional. There's different levels to this, flavors to this, that you may or may want to have, and may or may not want to get in your practice, I guess. If you want to open up now, roll on to the outer edge of your right foot. Let your knee track in line with your toes. So meaning if you roll your foot open, your knee opens too. I like to add a bit of a twist and look over my shoulder. If I'm opening up like this, it feels nice. Maybe you start to draw your pelvis forward a little bit. Last minute or so. My left hip feels like it wants to pop. Slowly start to come out of that. Oh man, that can be intense. Whew, good stuff, good stuff. This time, take the foot all the way over to the left side of your mat. So heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. There you go. Once you find the left edge of your mat, lower your right knee down. And you'll be set up for pigeon, which is right where we're rolling into. Look over your left shoulder, make sure your left leg's not doing anything weird or wonky. Check in with the hips. Make sure they're level. If your hips elevated like mine, a block or your blanket can slide underneath it like that, just to help keep you level. But we find our length first, and then you come on down into your sleeping swan, as it's known in Yin, also pigeon pose. And as you come into your pigeon pose, close the eyes, tune into your breath, and start scanning the body, just checking in. Maybe starting with the crown of the head, working the way down to your eyes, your nose, your lips, inner and outer parts of your mouth, your ears, down to the neck. From your neck, start to work down to the upper part of your right arm. And then your elbow, right forearm, right fingertips. Right side of your chest. Your right abs. Your right hip. Your right quad. Hamstrings. Shin. Calves. Ankles. And toes. Your entire right side. One plane of sensation.
As you notice the sensations on the right side of the body, feel the contrast between that and the left. See if you can hold that feeling simultaneously. The feeling of tension and of engagement that you have coming out of the right side, mirrored with the more subtle, less sensations may be found in your left.
Slowly start to work your way out of your pigeon pose. So we're going to start by coming back to our hands. Tucking our left toes. Maybe start to lift our right hip. Move your blanket or block if you have one. And we're going to simply step our right foot back into down dog. Appreciate the openness of down dog. We just came out of a very contractive pose where we were centered and grounded, which is great. But it's nice to open up. Find that beautiful expansiveness that comes with opening up. Pushing and pressing into the hands, lifting the hips up, drawing the outer hips in, squeezing the thighs back, making that activation, turning things on in a different way. Stepping our left foot to the outside of our left hand, moving our left hand out of the way, and heel toeing that foot in a bit. Once that left leg gets straight, maybe you take a step in with the right foot. Pyramid pose on the left is what we got. If you have blocks or things that are shaped like blocks, you can use them here to keep your spine long, to help you. Props are our friends. Don't let anyone tell you different. If they do, get new friends, because those friends don't love you. Props are amazing, honestly. It's funny how we judge that relationship between props and our practice, right? We treat it like, oh, it's a crutch. Oh, I need help. Oh, I'm not good enough. Like, there's a real story there that happens. Like, but if you think about it, that story, that version, is all about what everyone else thinks. If you are doing your practice for you, which you should be, and you're trying to improve, which you should be, then when you do or use anything that's going to help you be better, just noodle on that for a moment. That's all a prop is. Something that helps you. It's a calculator in math. It's a ruler in art class. It's a measuring cup in baking. Yeah, sure, you can not use those things in all of those categories, and you'd probably be alright, but things might go a lot smoother if you use the right tool. 30 more seconds here, just like that. Time has slipped away. Maybe not just like that, but hey, that's alright. That's what we do. If it's a challenge, then good. Even if it's a mental challenge. Alright, slowly start to bend that left knee. Keep your blocks if you're going to work in the dragon with them. Lower down to that right knee. So you're kind of in this low lunge shape. Straighten your left leg. And we'll start on our dragon series. Think about drawing your pubic bone up and your waist back, your chin down. Eye gaze follow, so you're trying to round, just like in cat pose. Hands are on blocks or fingertips, depending on what you got. Of course, if you have a front split that you want to play in, go there on your left side. At some point, if you feel ready for it. About 10 more seconds before we change up variations. Okay, slowly start to bring the sole of your foot onto the mat. Heel toe it off to the side. And come into just your traditional dragon. Hands on blocks if that feels good. If it doesn't, you know your variations. Pick the one that works for you. If you want to open up a bit, just to come onto the edge of that left foot, lifting it off the ground, letting the knees open. Dropping the hips forward, maybe taking the head back or looking over your left shoulder this time. These poses can be intense, but I want you to lean into that. Trust in your breath. Trust in your strength. Trust in yourself. start to back out of that. There we are. Blocks can move out of the way if you're working with them. Take that left foot all the way to the right. So go opposite. Left knee comes down. Right leg extends, you come into pigeon. This time on the left side. If you have a blanket that you need to use to level off your hips, level it out. Find your length, sit up tall first. And when you're ready, come on down. Once you settle into the pose on this side, I want you to close your eyes again. Go back in. Turn back to the breath. And start scanning from the top of the head to the eyes, nose, lips, inner and outer parts of the mouth, ears, neck, upper part of the left arm, elbow, forearm, left forearm, left hand, fingertips of the left hand, upper part of the left chest, left abdomen, left hip, left hamstring and quad, left shin and calf, left foot and toes, your entire left side, all is one large part of sensation. And as you notice the sensations of the left side of your body, feel how they compare to the right. Notice if you can hold both the feeling of sensation and the lightness of nothing all at the same time within your awareness. Slowly start to come up onto your hands. Lift your hip up, remove any props you might have there. Tuck your right toes, lift your right knee. Take a step back. Find your down dog. Push out through the legs. Really extend everything out. Shift your eye gaze forward. Come onto the balls of your feet. Tiptoe to the front of your mat. We're going to take a bit of a dangle pose. So, bend your knees. Try to get your chest to rest as close to your thighs as your body will allow. If you need to widen your stance here to do that or to make space for your human shape, do that. Let opposite wrists grab opposite elbows and let your upper body feel super heavy and weighted. Almost like it's pulling you forward. If that's too much for you, get your blocks or block-like things and let them come into play. Bend the knees, let the hips get low. Slowly start to straighten the legs. Let the head round up one vertebrae at a time. Come to rise. And be tall here. We're going to add a bit of engagement. So we've kind of been relaxing and things should be pretty chill. But it's not enough to stretch. We also have to strengthen the muscles too. So we're going to put a little bit in. Just take a small little flow. Nothing crazy. Just think about supporting yourself and hugging your muscles in and using your muscles to build tone and to build strength. So lift the toes here in Tadasana. Let the toes rest on the mat. All of them spread nice and wide. Press down through your big toe, your pinky toe, and the outer edges and inner edges of your heels. So you have 4 points of contact in the feet. Squeeze your inner thighs towards the midline, towards the center of your body and towards the center of your mat. Take your outer hips and squeeze them in. That's going to stabilize your legs. A solid, strong foundation provided. Because that's what we need, right? Like you need the foundation to then give you the ability to move, just like the mountain itself, right? That's why it can sway and move with the currents of the world, because it's so deeply grounded and deeply rooted. From here, take an inhale of the hands. Urdhva Hastasana finds us light on the fingertips. Remember how we reached out when we were stretching the arms? Now's the chance to do that. As you exhale, keep your belly button in and reach your chest forward as you bow humbly towards your thighs. Inhale, lengthen the spine by reaching the head forward, drawing the hips back. Exhale, fold. Hands come down to the mat. You're going to step back with your right foot and then your left, and you're going to immediately find a plank pose. Fingertips activate and grip the mat. Round and puff up through the back. Push into your hands. Squeeze your thighs together, pull your waist back, and draw your tailbone down. Actively push the mat away. Maybe you shake a little here, but keep holding that plank. You got it. Slowly start to lower down to the knees. Take an inhale breath. Take a cow pose. So hips forward, shoulder blades back. As you exhale, tailbone down. Round and tuck. Puff up through your spine like a mad kitty. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Pause in neutral. Reach your right hand forward. Reach your left hand back. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, reach. Exhale, round. Inhale, extend. Really think about using your core here to drive this action. The arms are an extension of your center. Bring the right hand down. Bring the left knee down. Switch it out. Left hand, then right leg. Extend from your center, so pull your belly button in, and then start to activate energy out through the fingertips so that the arms and the legs are strong. As you exhale, round and curl. As you inhale, take it out. As you exhale, draw that energy back in. Exhale. Goes out, hands come down. Beautiful. Tuck the toes. Draw the hips up and back. Find down dog. Go right into lifting the right leg. Bending the knee. Opening the hip. Looking forward. Stepping the right foot through. Lower down. Swing it around if you need to. Wiggle your left toes back. Take an inhale. Find your crescent lunge. Straighten the leg. Sink back into the crescent. Draw tailbone down so that you get a bit of a psoas stretch. Reach up through the fingertips. Push into the back heel or back foot or the ball of the back foot. Can't get it out. Inhale, straightens the right leg. Turn to your left. Pivot and rotate. Turn your heels in, toes out. Exhale, find your goddess pose. Lift your heart up. Draw your tailbone down. Pull your belly button in. Sink a little deeper in your goddess. Maybe bounce a little because it just feels good. Inhale, rise. As you exhale, bring the hands to heart center. Pivot and rotate. Stretch that right leg out. Find your crescent lunge on the left side. Reach your hands up and overhead. Draw your tailbone down, pubic bone up. You can even have a bend in that right knee if you need to. Keep everything long and lifted out from the heart. So reach those fingertips out. Breathe, pull your energy in towards the core. Make your muscles work. Slowly, as you exhale, start to reach your chest forward. Bow forward. Hands will come onto the mat. Step your left foot back, and you're right back in the plank pose. From here, lower down, knees, chest and chin. Take an inhale. Find a soft up dog. So meaning your feet remain planted on the ground. Tuck the toes. Find your down dog. Lift your left leg. As you do, draw your left foot towards your right wrist. And then step your right foot behind it so you come to a seated position. If you've got your blanket, now's a good time to grab it. So take this and place it in such a way that, number one, your hips are on it. If you need a little bit of elevation, we're going to do caterpillar pose, which is a forward fold, seated forward fold. Elevating the hips an inch or two off the ground will help you to round forward a little bit. If you don't like the way it feels, just place it right at your low back and don't sit on it. So extend your legs out. There you go. Legs out in front of you. Reach the hands up on the inhale. Sorry, I was getting my timer. There we go. Somewhere here. Hands up on the inhale. And of course, you know what to do as you exhale. Simply fold forward. Now, if you've got really tight hamstrings, they haven't opened up since we started playing around, this is good too. So, even though my hamstrings are pretty open, I like the way this feels for me. Now, slowly start to come out of that shape. If you're sitting on your blanket, come off of it, bring it right here to your low back, and then roll down on it. So that's kind of, you want the blanket underneath the center of your spine. We're going to take a snail pose, halasana, plow pose, but the difference is going to be we're going to allow the spine to rotate a little bit. So if you don't feel comfortable doing this, just hang out in shavasana right here where you are with the soles of the feet on the ground. Otherwise, start to draw your knees into your chest. And as you do, start to reach your toes up for the ceiling. And as you do, start to reach your hips up. Your hands will go right behind your back as much as they can. Your feet are going to be elevated. Your eye gaze is going to stay at your knees. So looking straight up towards the knees, you can start to reach the toes behind you. So you're basically creating the exact same shape you were just in, only now you're using gravity to put the weight above your chest rather than letting your chest go towards your thighs. That's the concepts. Now, if it doesn't feel good to have the feet extended, you can just draw the knees in towards your chest and take the compression. Then maybe you take one foot back and then the other foot back. Or even open up the knees and see how that feels. Slowly start to come out of the pose by moving the hands and letting the spine just unroll. The feet will come back onto the mat. Soles of the feet draw together. Knees fall out. Find Supta Baddha Konasana. If you like having your blanket underneath your chest, keep it there. Otherwise, move it. Close your eyes. You can stay here in Supta Baddha Konasana. You can extend out into Shavasana, whichever one's going to feel good to you. But right now, just take a moment to invite a sense of gratitude for your practice, for the last 90 minutes, which to me flew by. But you showed up, right? As we can all learn from all the caring, loving mothers in our lives, showing up sometimes is the greatest gift of all. You don't have to do it right. You ain't got to be perfect. But you just got to show up. Show up with an intention to give. Show up with an intention of a pure heart. Show up with love. And yeah, you're going to fumble and you're going to mess up. Things aren't going to go right. But nothing goes anywhere if you never show up. Show up for yourself. Show up for the people that matter to you. Show up for this world. Show up for each other. There's no greater love than that we receive from our parents, our moms especially. It's the one person in the world that you typically can feel will always accept you. I know that's not always the case, but in the best case scenarios, that's what we all want, is someone who will accept us regardless of how we accept ourselves or how we see ourselves. And if you're fortunate to have that, be blessed. Find your gratitude in that. And if you don't have it, I ask you, can you give it to yourself? Can you start with you? Feel free to take as much time in Shavasana as you feel you need. For the purposes of closing out practice today, I'm going to sit up because I was real comfy. I was ready to go to sleep. Or at least take a nap. Hey, thank you again for showing up today. For yourself. For the people you care about. For taking care of yourself. For refilling your cup. All of that. It was my honor to guide you through your flow. If you have any questions, please hit me up. With love and gratitude, have a beautiful day. Namaste.